Let's go!
Today on the show, we have Faizal Karmali, Sergeant with the Toronto Police. Sergeant.
Yeah.
And also a good friend of mine as well. And
after the podcast, I became his friend a little too.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so. We're going to find out some amazing things today for those people that are just going through getting hit all the time in life and just want to keep pushing forward. This is the episode to watch.
Yeah, and if you don't like cops, watch this, listen to it. You're going to like Faizal for sure.
That's right.
He's one of those amazing guys, a cop that is heart-led, and he's all about other people. Yeah, they exist. You know, he truly takes serving his badge and his position within society. He takes it seriously.
Very seriously.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Seriously. Police passion on Standing in the Six.
Straight out of the T-Dot.
That's what it is.
Live from the 6 boroughs.
Don't go nowhere.
For sure. Welcome to Standing in the 6 with your hosts Michael and Constantine.
And just like that, boom, we're going in. Good morning, everybody. On this very exciting day, it's full of excitement. We got, a friend of mine, a good friend of mine I went to school with, and also an incredible person that is doing some great work in the city. He's a sergeant.
I am
with Toronto Police, and his name is Faizal Karmali, and we're very happy to have you here.
Thank you,
I mean,
guys.
it's just an honor for me. I know you say you're happy. It's an honor for me that you're on this show, bro.
Well, it's a privilege for me too. I mean, I've known you a long time, and
Yeah.
for me, it's an honor. So thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be here. Very glad to be
That's
here.
amazing. And what's also so amazing about this day is this will be the day, and then even though we record and shoot this out a couple of weeks from now, this will be the day that we will fall back and be like, man, this is the day the Raptors won the championship. We're gonna call that right now.
Let's
Hold
hope
on,
so.
Let me just rub your shoulder.
Exactly.
We can put on the hype now and wish, right? We know what's gonna happen. So
Yeah.
that's
Exactly.
it. You gotta think
Exactly.
positive, right? So
That's
hopefully
right,
it
man.
happens tonight.
That's right.
I woke up, I felt it in my stomach. As soon as
Yeah.
I woke up, I'm like, today's the day.
Yeah. So now, interesting fact here. I've known you, Faizal. I mean, if we go back and just how time flies, well over 20 years.
Yes. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Because you graduated, by the way, we both went to the law enforcement program
Yeah.
in Seneca College, King City.
Hey, I'm Seneca alumni too.
Yeah.
Hey, the sting.
There you go, man.
Yeah.
There you go. When did you graduate? I graduated in 98. You graduated in 97, wasn't
So yeah, I graduated in '97.
it? Okay.
And so, but for me, I had to catch up on a couple of courses. So when I graduated, I had to go back to Newnham campus and
Yes.
catch on a couple of courses. So
Okay.
did that, and then just took off from there. Right.
What
Started
was-
venturing out after that, man.
For sure,
So,
man.
yeah,
And what
yeah.
was so amazing, I can tell you this right now, the college years for me were one of the best years of just like finding myself and connecting with good people.
Yeah.
The friendships that we made at that campus, and it was incredible. You know what I mean? And it's
That's
to this
cool.
day, yeah.
Well, I think the best thing was even seeing Constantine when we go through the colleges. I know I'd always be laughing because this guy was the biggest joker that was there, man. And the things he pulled, there was even some things I even think about that he did, whatever. He just, to this day, I'd be at home, I'd be lying in bed, and I'm thinking about it. I go, oh, I remember the time he did that. And I'd start laughing, right? Because I think about Constantine. That's the way it was, right?
Yeah.
But, he's a genuine person. But I mean, people like that, that's how we connected, right?
No, for
so,
sure.
yeah, it's okay, yeah.
The class clown, was it?
I mean,
Well, let me tell you. I want to tell you one thing.
right.
All right? I want to tell you one story. Right. So I even just thinking about it, I just start laughing. So we were doing an exercise outside. So there were some cabins. We were doing some exercises. Right. So until this day, I still laugh about this. We were doing some exercises, and I guess it was just something about crime scene management or something. So Constantine comes up to the door. He just kicks the door open and he goes, "Clear!" And no one walks there.
very animated.
He's living out his movie.
Thinking out like he's a SWAT guy, right? But we all started laughing. But I mean, that's what made it, right? That's so
Yeah.
you have a guy like that, you put a smile on his face, so it's a joke, right?
Yeah,
So,
it was fun.
class clown.
I guess, yeah.
Does your mom know
I brought
this?
joy. No.
I know, it was all good though.
No.
You've really matured.
Yeah, I'm matured now. Very serious now.
Anything else? Did he have like stinky lunches or anything?
Well, you would think I don't remember that, but
Yeah.
I don't know if he's the guy that's gonna come with tzatziki and whatever. Right?
I know, eh? How out of you? Exactly. What's so funny is when we go back into the days of college,
Yeah.
quite a few of us, there was a small little circle of us that, obviously, hanged out and connected. There was a stat at that time, and the stat was for anyone that's looking to kind of come out of this law enforcement program and get into policing, I think they said it was like a 5% success rate or something of that sort.
And you're right. Yeah, I remember because I remember the instructors talking about that, right? They
Yeah.
said it was a very minute percentile.
Yes.
Even like around 1-2%. So
Yes.
remember they came up in front of us and they said, you know what, okay, there's a whole bunch of you in the class here. I know what your aspirations are and I know where you want to go. But from what I've seen from my experience, and I remember that, they were saying that, right? There's only a certain, like a 1-2% that are going to carry on into law enforcement, become police officers.
Yes.
You know, to go on from there.
Right.
You know, and, you know, some people are like, well, you're looking and you're like, oh, really?
Well,
But
I'll tell you this.
yeah.
When I heard that stat,
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I'm part of that percent, man. I'm part of that percent. Like, there's
Yeah.
going to be
Yeah.
no problems for me.
Yeah.
I'm in there.
You got to work from confidence, like Draymond
Yeah.
Green thinking he's the best defender.
No,
in the
for
league.
sure.
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
You got to come from
Yeah.
Now,
belief.
look, let's fast forward 20 years later, and that never happened, okay? But I will say this. For me, the preparations of life to have the fundamental basics of good, strong work ethic kind of led me to kind of where I'm right now,
Yes.
right? However, the funny thing about that stat is about last year, which would have been the 20-year anniversary since I've walked into King Campus, Seneca College, Mr. Roller. Do you remember Mr.
Yeah,
Roller?
Roller. And
Yeah.
from what I heard, I don't know if he's still there
He's
or
still
he's
there,
still
man.
there.
He's still
Yeah,
there.
to
He
this
did the
day,
sec- he
yeah.
did the security.
Why is it always like that? When it's 20 plus years, it's like, yeah, he's still teaching.
Yeah, he did. He not only did he do the security courses there, but he also is tied into security. I think he has his own company as well, and he's a consultant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he called me in, and I did a presentation in his class. And it was funny because I did it April 2018, which would have been the 20-year mark
Oh,
since
no
I
way.
graduated. So I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
yeah.
So look,
that's amazing.
we get called to do presentations, at different schools in the law enforcement field. And what was memorable at that one is that you're always going to get these questions, and people are going to be in the same shoes that we were in 20 years ago, all
Yes.
aspiring to get into policing, corrections, this and that. Now, look, at the end of the day, when we're doing these presentations, what I like to do is start speaking about life, right? So simple things like, look, I want you guys to look around here. Not everyone is going to be a police officer. That's fact, okay? School's going to teach you one thing, but the fact is not everybody in here is going to be a police officer. So your next
right.
question is, what do you aspire to do?
That's right.
Start creating your plan Bs and
That's
your
right.
plan Cs right now. In the moment, you can do what I did. There's no way that's going to happen. That's going to be me. However, it's so important that people understand that, because I find that when you put all your eggs into one basket, as they say, you could actually destroy your future if you do that. You know what I
100%.
mean?
Yeah.
So it's just to me, just to kind of think back on that. I mean, that was pretty powerful for me, and it resonated well. And it's actually a good opportunity for people to think, look beyond. Look beyond. Create your plan Bs and Cs now.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
Put those in place.
That's right.
I
That's
guess
right.
that was your story. So, but Faisal, he was one of the 1%,
Yeah.
right? I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, you
know?
were.
Yeah,
Well,
so congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Where it stings even a little harder is the group that we were with. Nick, Andy,
Yeah.
Jeff, all
Yeah.
these guys, they all got on, right?
Yeah.
So I'm in the back and look at them like, man, I'm next. Now, like, again, look, if I look back at 20 years, I'm very happy where my career took
Absolutely,
me.
yeah.
But I'm just saying it's just one of those things where it's good to have options. Do you know what I mean? It's really, really good to have
Yeah,
options.
absolutely.
Yeah, and I think what it is too is a lot of people got to think is it's not to say that you can't achieve your goals.
Right.
Absolutely, you can.
Right.
But in order to achieve your goals, you also got to have that backup so that if you can't go where you want to go, you still have that other way to achieve a goal in that other angle.
Right.
Angle that way, right?
Okay.
So it's not to say that, okay, all right, man, you know what? I'm aspiring. I want to be a police officer. This is where I'm going, okay? And this is what I'm looking to do. This is my goals and where I'm trying to get to. But in the event, you know what? I know I can get there, but I'm also going to think about this too.
Right.
Because it's like, you know what? I know I can get there, but just in case something comes, and wherever it's meant to be for me to go, I can strive towards that goal to go there too.
Right.
Right? And aim for it. So you know what I mean?
I think
yeah.
the key is
yeah.
we want a great outcome, but the key, I think, maybe is adaptability. Is being able to adapt, right? A lot of people, especially young people in their 20s, they have an ideology. I'm going to be this, right? And then if it doesn't happen, then what's the recourse? Is that it just falls apart. They sit
Right.
at home in the basement and play,
Right.
right?
You can't.
You can't. So
Can't.
even if it's like, my whole life is science. I'm going to be a scientist. maybe one day they're gonna maybe host a kids show about science. They're not necessarily a scientist. Get what I'm saying, right?
Right.
So I think just adapting, being able to adapt is key. You know, speaking. I mean, well, the environments you work in as a police
Yeah.
officer, obviously, adapting probably has to be.
Adapt and overcome.
Ooh, I like that.
So
Yeah.
adapt and overcome. You
Yeah.
know, and you know, it's funny I bring that up, adapt and overcome, right? Because we can adapt, but you need to overcome. Because when you adapt, you get an obstacle, you got to overcome that obstacle. And that saying that I'm bringing, the adapt and overcome, it came from a staff sergeant of mine when I was in the college, in the police college, and recruiting. So, and the reason he brought that up is because my class of 109 recruits we went through, and we went through in 2001 December. I came on and graduated in May or June 2002 to hit the road. However, during that time, we encountered what was the OPSU strike. So OPSU, all the government workers or whatever, and the OPSU employees were actually the ones that were employed by the Ontario Police College in Elmore, Ontario.
Yeah.
So prior to 3 weeks of us graduating, from Elmore, Ontario, because then we'd have to go back to Toronto Police College. At that time, it was at COBIC. It was up in Scarborough, to go on an additional 5 weeks of training to go and complete a training to get on the road. But the strike happened, and it was like, now it's a deadlock. Now we're all thinking, okay, what's going to go on now? Like, how are we going to get our training now? Like, we all want to get on the road. Like, what are they going to do with us? So what they ended up doing was they brought us back to the college, and they ended us doing an additional training from there. But a lot of people were patient, and they understood, okay, we've already gotten here, so you know what? We got to deal with this. And you know what? We have to deal with this, and we have to go with the training and get it done. And eventually we'll go back and we'll finish. So then I would say about 6 or 7 weeks later, when the opposite strike went on for that long, we ended up going back to the college, to Ontario Police College, and we finished. And we ended up doing another 3 weeks. We finished. We came back, got our badges. But when we came back, we're all in the auditorium. We're standing there on the parade square in the auditorium. The staff sergeant in charge, and I remember his name was Jim Duggan, and I remember he comes up to us in front of the class and he says, you know what, your class, you guys persevered. If there's one thing, there's always a motto I can think of for one class. Always a motto for you guys. It's you guys adapt and overcome. Because we adapt, because you know what? We had that obstacle, right? What's going to happen? We have to strike it, but then you know what? We adapted. We persevered through it. We got through. We went through those additional 9 weeks. Went through it, getting that badge right, and we overcame. And that's it. And I kind of carry that motto with me now, too, right? Adapt and overcome. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
So 20 years. Is that what is it? Would it be 20 years? 20-year mark?
It's actually 19 years.
19 years.
19 years, yeah.
19 years in.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you still enamored by the aspect that you're a police officer, or is it now I'm just going in and doing another day kind of like, has it, you know what I mean? In any job you do, it loses the fun factor, I guess, right?
Yeah.
How does it feel for you?
Novelty will wear off soon.
Right.
Right.
For everything, right?
Yeah. But then, I'm curious how you view it, how you see.
So, you know what? And it's an interesting question you ask there, right? Because like novelty is one thing, right? Yeah, there's a novelty of job. Like everybody comes out, you get this new recruit that comes out, gets in the police car. Oh yeah, I'm finally got a police car. You get to go chase guys and rats and do that. And
Makes for good network television.
What you see in Hollywood is what you think you get, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's the excitement of it too, right? However, it is true that whatever profession, some people think, oh, the novelty's wearing off, whatever. But I like to attach that novelty to passion.
Okay.
So what I mean by that, if you have a passion and your passion doesn't wear off, the novelty's not going to go away as well.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what I mean is like, I still have a passion for this job. I come to work with a smile on my face every day. And my passion for this job is it connects me to people. That's what keeps me going.
Right.
So the novelty is not going to wear off because I attach the novelty to the passion because I have a passion for it.
Right.
Whether it's meeting people, it's networking with people, it's making people happy, it's getting out there and, getting rewarding things that you do.
Yes.
But it's the passion you put into the people because I love people.
Right.
And you know what? And not only that, it's not only loving people, but it's like I carry it with the passion that I try to make everybody happy. And that's why the novelty doesn't wear off.
Right.
And
It's
within you,
evident,
it comes
man.
in the heart. Yeah.
You can like one thing we see this all the time. We talk to a lot of people. You can tell when someone is like real and when
Yeah.
someone is putting it on, right? Or someone just doesn't care. And the passion oozes out of you, man. Like you can see that. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like if I was right now interviewing right now to be a police officer, I'd be like, man, this guy's going to be an amazing
guy.
representation for the community. You know what I mean?
But it's also at the same time too, like you can read off somebody, but it's just being genuine. It's just being yourself.
Right.
Right. So I mean, there's people that join the job and whatever, and I can't speak for them. They're going to be different people, right? And sometimes they say, "Oh, look at this guy. He got hired, and the job changed him." Right. But if you let yourself be that same person that people see you as and view as, you just be yourself. Then there's a lot of things that are come your way, and you know what, you won't change, and people respect you for that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
Where'd you grow up?
So funny enough, I came to Canada when I was 6 months old.
Yeah.
So I was born in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, East Africa. So 6 months old. So my parents came with basically nothing here to Canada, right? And obviously, as a lot of immigrant parents do, they come to Canada for a better life, right? So we came here for a better life. So I actually, when we first came here, a lot of people from my community settled in the Thorncliffe Park area.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Overly
Good
Boulevard,
old
yeah.
Thorncliffe,
Yeah.
right? So I lived in a couple of buildings in Thorncliffe, and then and there was one building in St. Denis Drive I grew up, and then I ended
So you
up.
grew up in Flamo too?
Well, I was only there for like a couple of
Okay,
years.
okay.
So 2 years old, right?
Yeah.
And then my parents ended up moving to the Donnells and Finch area.
Okay.
So I grew up in this townhouse complex. So basically, if you're talking about neighborhood where I grew up,
Brahms?
just off of Brahms, man.
Yeah, okay.
Just down the street from Brahms.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
where Brahms is, and there was a street called Ramo Drive.
Yeah, yeah.
There was a townhouse complex there, Lisgate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually grew up in that townhouse complex.
yeah.
And then, my parents ended up buying a house down the street. So I was actually in that neighborhood. So people say, where'd you grow up? I say, yeah, I grew up in the Donnells and Finch area. Because I was there all the way up until I ended up
Yeah.
getting my own place as 20 years old.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
okay.
Yeah.
But basically in that area.
So you know all about Peanut Plaza.
Yep. And
You
snow.
know all
yeah.
about
And
Peanut
snow.
Plaza.
the snow on Allenbury,
Yeah, yeah.
I still live in there. In fact, that complex is no longer
What a
there.
mis-
It's
what a
not there,
misformer,
right?
eh?
Yeah,
Allenbury's gone.
Huh?
Allenbury's gone.
It's
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
wiped. It's
Is it?
wiped. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, wiped.
But one place at Peanut Plaza I always remember too, because you'd always go there, right? I remember because my mom would take me to the byway in Peanut Plaza,
yeah,
right?
come
So
on.
everybody's coming up with these like really nice kicks, and here
I
I am, my
know.
mom's taking me down, so getting me the 6,999 byway shoes with the
kangaroos.
Velcro, the kangaroos, right? And those would be the in shoes because you could put your pocket change
Yes.
in the right in the zipper,
There's
right?
a little zipper.
A little zipper on the
Light
side,
gray.
yeah.
I remember. I distinctly have that memory too, where all the kids are getting Jordans, and my first
Yeah.
pair of Jordans, I was 35. That's a true
Are
story.
you serious?
I'm not
Really?
joking.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough.
Tracks.
But I
yeah.
remember my mom taking me to Byway, and I remember having to pick a shoe. And
By the way, I read somewhere that Byway's making a comeback.
Really?
I literally read that somewhere that
Are you
Byway's
kidding?
coming back.
you gotta love
Think about that.
you gotta love hipsters.
Yeah. I know.
There's a hipster behind that somewhere.
Yeah.
They always try and bring these shows back. I mean, these stores back, right?
Yes.
So they want to see them make a comeback
Nostalgia.
with it,
Right.
right? But yeah,
Remember Bargain Heralds?
Oh boy.
Bargain
Yeah, man.
Heralds.
That was actually
Bargain
that was
Heralds, man.
Wasn't that? No, that was in Thorncliffe. There was actually was it Kretzky's in Thorncliffe? There was one of them. There was a place in there.
I think
Or
are you
Wilco or
talking about
something.
Thorncliffe Flower Plaza?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it might have had I think it was a byway. I think it might have had a Bargain Heralds there
Yeah.
too. Oh, their Bargain
I
Heralds
mean,
was
the
close
good old
by.
days, man. The
Yeah,
good old
and
days.
Peanut Plaza.
So growing up Domino's Finch area,
Yeah.
it's a colorful neighborhood.
yeah, yeah,
Right? You got a mix of a lot of different cultures.
yeah.
What how was your childhood? When did you have any siblings?
So yeah, I got a brother.
Yeah.
So my brother and I, we basically grew up in the area, and I remember, we used to. I still to this day keep in touch with a lot of the kids
Yeah.
in the neighborhood, right?
Nice.
So I unfortunately lost a friend that I grew up with in that neighborhood. He, God bless him, he passed on just a few weeks ago, and
Sorry to hear
so
that.
yeah,
Yeah, my
and
condolences.
God bless him, and. There was a few of the kids that I grew up with, and we ran into each other right back in the day. And from the funeral, unfortunately, it's unfortunate sometimes that we came together.
Yeah.
So those kids that we came and we talked about the neighborhood, right? We used to reminisce, right, of how the neighborhood was, because it was a townhouse complex, but we were all pretty close, right? Go out to the days where we go be
Yeah.
playing manhunts, and right, and doing
Right.
things, right? But it was, and even for my brother and I, it was just a nice neighborhood that we all connected with a lot of people, right? More than many issues and stuff, right? So be playing road hockey on the street, right? Soccer in the park, you know what I mean? But it was...
It's a different time. You're in each other's house all the time. You know?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. You know, but I mean, for the two of us, it was like, you know, we explore a lot of different things, right? We did explore a lot of different things. But I mean, it was just, for us, we wanted to decide, like growing up there, like we knew we had, like my parents really worked hard for the both of us. So it was good that we were able to see where we wanted to go from there, right? In that neighborhood. I mean, you know, you talk about Brahms, right? There was issues in Brahms, and you talk about Sparrowways, there's issues in Sparrowways, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, in those areas, right? But nonetheless, I mean, in that area, you know, you had a collective group that just looked out for each other, and it was still a great neighborhood to go to. Like I mean, to this day, I drive by and even think about my public school. Like I went to Christaven Public School.
Okay.
Yeah, I went to Christaven Public School, and I mean, there's a couple people from the school I stay in touch with. But you walk by, and even everybody in that school, you hear success stories about people there, right? And then I ended up, you know, aside from going to high school, I went to private school, right?
Okay.
So my brother and I went to private school, but for my last year of high school, I went to A.Y. Jackson, right? So that was my A.Y. Jackson, my last year of high school, right? Ended up there, and you know, let's take it off from there.
For grade 13.
Well, I actually didn't.
OAC?
Yeah, so I only did a couple of credits in OAC because it was at that point where I was determining now where I wanted my career to go.
Yeah, so you knew then. Were you thinking policing already in high school?
Funny enough, you say that. Not really, man.
Really?
So no, for the longest time, I guess when I was younger, up until like my mid-teens or whatever, I wanted to be a commercial airline pilot.
Really?
Whoa.
I wanted to be a commercial airline pilot.
Like Constantine's father. Like,
Yeah. Might have to with the airlines, man.
Like
Did
Bubba.
you? Well, no, yeah. So I till this day, I still like, you know, I have a bit of an infatuation for airline stuff, but I wanted to be a commercial airline pilot. And then I changed my career, and then I was like, I want to be a sports medicine doctor, and I do this because, you know, South Asian parents, right?
Yeah.
What do they drill into you, right? You say, you know, you gotta be a doctor, lawyer, pharmacist, this, IT, right?
Yeah.
But I kind of was leaning to, I was thinking about it, like, you know, come out of high school, or in high school, I said I want to be a commercial airline pilot. But during that time, I knew your math would be good, and I wasn't very good at math, right? So I wasn't one of the guys that was a good math guy, right?
Yeah.
But as I thought about it, then I'm like, you know what? It was funny because I remember a guy. I was in the cafeteria one day because now you're coming to that point where you're getting guidance counselors, and now they're in school in Jackson, right? Mm-hmm. So guidance counselors, and now they're in school and they're telling you, okay, where do you want to take your career path, right? So I had a buddy. There was a guy. I remember I was in the caf, a big guy, Doug, right? So Doug had this pamphlet that said Toronto Police Service on it, right? And how to get on and how to become a police officer. It was this pamphlet, and I remember it was like a green, pink, and yellow papers and this brown paper. This pamphlet, right? It's like all different color papers, right?
There's this remnants of the 70s.
Right? It's not like white paper. It was like green, yellow. And I remember this pamphlet. And it was funny because I had it up until a few years ago, and then I threw it out, right?
Yeah.
So I was looking at it, and I'm like, you know what, man? Maybe, right? Because I knew what kind of person I was and where I was taking my, you know, because I was in the martial arts at that time. Started the martial arts at that time.
What'd you take?
So I started with Shotokan karate, and then I did that for a couple of years, and then I ended up.
If you lived through the 80s, you touched karate.
Yeah.
Or karate touched you.
Yeah, you touched you.
True.
Yeah.
True.
So I started with Shotokan karate, and then
That's one thing I always knew about you, man.
Really?
Yeah.
Martial arts. But
Martial
I'm
arts.
gonna let him spell it out because I know the one that I didn't know about that. But keep going.
Yeah, so I'll get into the rest of it, but Shotokan karate. I mean, look at the pamphlet. I was in martial arts, Shotokan karate. And then, you know, looking at the pamphlet, I said, okay, I want to be a police officer, right? But, and I said, okay, so I'm going to take my career. But like I said, going back to the martial arts, and I ended up getting into Muay Thai, right? So I did Muay Thai for 20 years. And I will talk a little about that, right?
Yeah.
Because that's also a reflection of where I am and what's made me today, right? With the art of Muay Thai and stuff. But
So we can get an inside expert opinion on the elbow on Fred Van Vliet. Because the 8-point strike, that was a crazy elbow.
or the one on Serge Ibaka, right? The one right,
But then we'll
Serge
save that for
Ibaka,
later.
but-
That 8-point strike.
they get into it.
Yeah.
But like in regards to like I saw this pamphlet and I was looking at it and I'm like, okay, maybe I want to be a police officer. Now I was like being in the martial arts and I said, okay, now where do I got to take my avenue? Where do I got to go? Right. So now we're talking 91, 92, 93, like 92, 93, right? So I'm like, where do I want to go? So
Jays are winning the World Series.
yes.
And
And
you're
I was
thinking
at Young
about
and
my
Elm
career.
Street at that time. I remember standing on the corner with it, as everybody's going by, right? Before we went to the clubs, right? So they're hanging out there.
By Sam and the Record Man.
That's right, across the street. I was actually on that pizza corner there, right? Where because I used to be the hangout. We all used to hang out at pizza, right? At Young and Elm. Yeah.
If you want to have pulse on what's going on in Toronto,
that's where it's at. But as I looked, I'm like, okay, where I got to take my career path. So I was looking at the law enforcement program at Seneca, but I never ended up getting in.
Okay.
So I didn't get in the first time. So I said, okay, let me because I think at that time there was an entrance exam to get into that program. I don't know if you remember that, but I think.
I can't remember, bro.
Yeah.
Entrance exam, really?
Yeah. So I do remember there was some sort of reading comprehension or entrance exam that you had to get into, right? Or had to complete or pass in order to be accepted into the law enforcement program at Centennial College in its King campus. And I remember writing it and I didn't pass. And I'm like, okay, is it over?
Yeah.
And here we talk about the adapt and overcome, right? So like now it's like, okay, that's one obstacle. Is it over? What do I do? So I ended up from high school, like I said, and you talked about OACs. I only did 1 or 2 OACs, and I knew in college you only needed a grade 12 to go, right?
Yeah.
So I ended up going to Centennial College.
Okay.
So I said, okay, let me do the, I think it was like just a basic general science program or general education program where you get a bit of everything, right?
Yeah, general arts and science.
That's right. Yeah. That's right, man.
A program that makes all parents proud.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing that general arts and science program for a year because I said, let me buy some time, let me get in. So because my parents are like, okay, what are you gonna go somewhere? What are you gonna do, right? So you're gonna get in. You
feel it. Come on,
you feel it, right?
Choose a career, make us proud.
Yeah.
We sacrifice for it to get to.
Like, come on, you're gonna do something about it, or what, right? So at that time, it was like, okay, let me go in it. So I wanted the general arts science program at Centennial. And I think at that time it was on Warden. I think there was a campus on Warden as well.
Yeah, you're right.
Warden in Eglinton area, I think it was. I can't remember. Yeah.
I think they still have a campus there.
I think it's still there too, because I think the main focus at that time at that campus was mechanics, because you get a lot of guys that were going to car mechanics that were going there, right? That was like how Seneca King campus, law enforcement. That was
the
mechanics program, yeah.
Yeah, if you saw dudes there, they were either wanted to be a mechanic or they were going to court.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. It was one of the two things, right?
That's what it is.
Yeah, so when I went to that program, like I said, I went to Centennial College, and I started going through. I knew my goal. I hadn't left it out that I want to try to pass the exam to get into Seneca College, right? So I did I did a year, and then I wrote the exam again. So I wrote the exam again, and then I would say January of '95 I got it. Mm-hmm. So I ended up getting it, and I worked really hard. I'm like, okay, now I gotta pass this because I was doing some extracurricular things to improve what I had to do for that entrance exam, and I got it. So January '95 I got it. And so from January '95, that's when I continued through, right? Got into the program and I met this guy, and so, and it was good. But there were some, going through, even at Seneca, there were some obstacles I encountered too, right? Because before I graduated, I hadn't been successful in a couple of courses. And not being successful in a couple of courses, they basically tell you that, they tell you have to leave the program. But we're not saying you can't come back, but you got to go make up these courses before you can come back. I still had that goal because I said, yeah, man, I want to be a police officer, right? I can't let this say, yeah, I made a couple of mistakes, but you know what? You learn from mistakes, and you know what? You go on. You got to work through it to pass and get to where you want to go.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I ended up, So I ended up going to Noonan campus, made up the course, and I got back in the program. So initially, I guess when I met you, Constantine, or when I got in, I would have been with a different class, but because I had to make up those courses, and I ended up seeing you, and that's where I met you, or going through, right? But once I got through and I was going through, and now I had to think, okay, now I need some experience, right? Because I still had my eyes on getting to my career.
Right.
So I had to look for some experience. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do, right? So what does everybody do when they want to be police? They go into security.
Right.
They think about security. But I didn't really have an awareness of what kind of security I wanted to do or why I wanted to take it. So I ended up going into event security. So I remember there was this company, Test Event Security. So and the one of the supervisors that day, I remember I met him, Ross, right? So I met him, and they were just hiring in masses because Tests, they did a lot of the security for the concerts, a lot of concert venues and stuff. So it's funny because I'd never seen a concert in my life until I started working at this company and started seeing a lot of concerts, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so I started working there, and then I knew that, okay, the best thing is me being a genuine person and working for this company. Let's network a bit. Let's start meeting people, right? Because then I can start meeting people. See, maybe think other avenues of where I don't want to be in this type of security. Now I need to learn. Now I need to know, talk to people and find out where I have to go, right? And then I was one of those guys that, okay, so I started working for Tess, and then, okay, I started working for another company. But then it's a matter of people say get interaction with police officers, because start talking to police officers, start getting interactions, because they can tell you from experience where you need to go to, right, and what you need to do.
Yep.
So
there's a quote: best way to walk through a minefield is to follow someone.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. They can tell you. They can save you a lot of heartache and time just by helping you focus.
Yeah. Because and the thing is, you gotta look for mentors too, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And people, and that's right. Guidance and people that will guide you through, are those the people that that will give you that you want that person to find you, or you find that person. That's the ones who guide you through, right?
Yeah.
So you get to find those mentors. So it was like, for me, like after going through and working for this company, and then I'm like, okay, I got to get a little more experience. So I did event security for a bit. But however, then you know what? I had this thing. I'm doing martial arts and I'm doing this. And then I always had like this infatuation with nightclubs.
Right.
Yeah. It's like.
It was the 90s.
Yeah, that's right. I was infatuated with nightclubs. I'm thinking, all right, you know what? Am I going to get good experience and work in nightclubs instead of whatever? I'm still in that security field. I'm doing that. So I'm like, okay, let me venture that way. So I started working in nightclubs. So like, I remember I was still with Tess at the time. And I remember I got introduced to the head doorman of RPM nightclub.
Okay.
And, right? And everybody, everybody's like, wow, RPM, man, we're going back in the day, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And, talk of RPM. So I met the head doorman of RPM nightclub. And I remember Carl. So he looked at me and goes, you work for Tess? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, you want a job here? I'm like, okay, yeah, man. I said, yeah, I'll take it, right? So then I started working in nightclubs. So now I'm still venturing. I'm venturing. I'm still trying to find a way, trying to find a path. I'm working in nightclubs. So I worked at RPM, then I worked at the government nightclub, right? Yeah. I worked at FX nightclub in Mississauga. So, but what I was doing in doing that and not realizing, because people to this day say, okay, working in nightclubs, you're not going to experience. But I found myself getting experience because in whatever type of security you're getting, and depending what type of security you do or whatever, because you want to get that life experience, because they talk about that. When you get hired as police, they want life experience.
Of course.
What kind of life experience did you get?
Right.
What do you have, right, to help you out with the job? So I started to get light, you know what I mean?
I just remembered there's a young guy that works with us. He didn't become a cop. He didn't pass like his interview. Yeah. And that was one of his hang-ups. He was like, they asked me about my life experience. He's like, what am I supposed to say? He's like, my life's my life. Okay. He didn't get it. He didn't get it.
Yeah, and some people may not, right? Yeah. But, you get those. But there is that odd person that comes right out of college and they get hired, right? But life experience that you get is going to help you, right?
Right.
Because you experience things.
100%.
So, like, as I, went through, and I'm like, okay, I'm doing these different, going work in clubs, but I need life experience because I'm learning about, a fight will break out in the club, but you will learn how to deal with that situation, how to mediate a situation between two people. So you get experience from that. Because as a police officer, you're going to do the same thing. And whether to restrain somebody or whatever, like you learned that always in a safe and professional manner. But at the same time, you were learning that. And I was getting that too, right? I was learning all that. But I'm like, I needed something more to take me into the career of that career path, right? So I kept going. So then I ended up, going from there, working in security in the nightclubs, doing a couple of things on the side. But then I was like, and then I actually got involved in my community. So me being part of the community. So I'm a Smiley, right? Smiley Muslim, right? Okay. So in our community, we have a lot of events. So I started volunteering, doing security within my community as a volunteer. So helping out, as a volunteer. Really cool. So because as a volunteer and giving back to the community, but I'm also gaining experience from that and learning different things. But now you're learning at events, you're learning how to deal with community members and you're learning how to create dialogue. So this is all things you're taking in, right? Yeah. So in doing that, I'm like, okay, now I'm doing this, but maybe I need to find another angle, right? So, then upon completing college. So now I was done. Seneca, I finally graduated, right? Got done. I said, okay, now I have to create a little more of a focus, that's gonna the police service is gonna see that, okay, he's got this type of experience that's gonna help us out. So I went to loss prevention, right? So I had one exam to finish, and I went to loss prevention.
So you're doing a lot right now.
Yeah, you know what? And it's not to say that you can't get life experience somewhere else, but I found that, like, you know, doing things like that, just for me, I just found it would help me in a certain way, because there's people that are on the job today, like, I mean, that had no security experience whatsoever. You got teachers, you got ministers, you got people that worked at funeral homes, you got people that came from a big factory, doctors. Well, you have a couple of doctors that left, just a dentist that just left and became police officers, right?
Wow.
Huge. I mean, because to some of them, it's like they still want their dreams, right? And they still want to they want to continue their dreams. So and sometimes may not be happy, but yeah, they become a doctor or lawyer. But like, you know what? I also wanted to be a police officer.
That's really cool. I love stories like that.
Yeah, I always wanted to be a police officer, and they leave that. Like I have a very good friend who. And we were talking about him earlier, who the guy who's done the challenge coin, Sir Tom, right? Very good friend of mine. He was a lawyer. He was a lawyer. And you think about these professional lawyers, but he put that all aside and became a police officer because that was his passion. That's what he wanted to do, right? And so for me, it was like, yeah, you know what? Gaining that life experience, you know that you still, doing things in different experiences, like a loss prevention, whatever. That's what you're gonna do to become a police officer, right? You know that's gonna get you there. So working in loss prevention, I only did that for a certain time, loss prevention, but. And when I left loss prevention, my parents were, and I'll be honest with you, like during this time, right? My parents weren't fond of my career choice.
Okay.
They weren't really fond of my career choice because they were kind of like, they were both bankers. They were both bank managers, 30, 40 years, and both of them retired now. And I'm very happy for them, but 30, 40 years in the banking industry, right? And they saw where I was going, and they were like, they were kind of giving up. They're like, you know what? Listen, just come work with us in the bank.
Right.
Just come. We'll get you and come to the bank. I said no.
Yeah.
I said no. I said, you know what? I'm finding my goal. I know what I want to do, and this is where I'm going. I'm finding my goal. And so they wanted me to come to the banking industry, right? But I said no. I said this is where I want to go. So I mean. They, at that point, they were like, okay, when I left loss prevention, like, well, I didn't have a job. I was still looking for a job because it was like, now where am I going to go? Like, where am I going to get to, right? Like, I still want to compete that goal with a police officer because now at this time I was in my early 20s around there, right? The early mid-20s. So I'm like, oh, I got to get there. My dad actually said, listen, you need to work. I'm going to line you up on a job. You need to work. I'm like, okay. So you end up getting me a job at Celestica.
Okay.
Domino's and Nuggets. The Celestica. I had you drive by at Domino's.
What is that?
It's Celestica, right?
Yeah.
You drive by like, what is this place, right?
It has its own special parking.
You go through
a bunch of flags.
So you go through and it's like Celestica. So I'm like, what is this place?
So it's never been vandalized. You don't trust it.
No, but it's like massive security in there because they're making like major computer parts and stuff. You can think if they're such a high tech place, they're gonna have all sorts of security in there, right? Or whatever, right? Yeah. But he was like, "Listen, I know somebody from the community. He can get you a job and work at Celestica." I said, "Okay." I said, "No problem." I said, "Okay." I said, "In the meantime, till I can get back on track, I'll do this for now." It's in my. So I went for the training for 2 weeks, and I kid you not, I finished the training in 2 weeks. First day on the job, it was basically on an assembly line, doing like microchip thing. I was doing the same thing, and I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this for like 2-3 months. So the second day, I went to it and I said, thank you very much. This is not for me. So I left in 2 days, right? I ended up leaving because it's like, I'm not going to be a police officer from this. So what am I going to do? I still want to have my security goal, right? I want to get my security because that's what's going to get me to my ultimate goal.
Right.
So I ended up leaving. My parents, I got walked out. I left all this trade.
Pissed your dad off.
Oh, buddy, you have no idea. Yeah. My dad, when he came home, he's like, why, my mom, you didn't look for another job first and you quit?
Yeah.
Why did you go look for another job first? Why are you leaving? And they just lost it because it's like, they said, okay, yeah, we know what you want to do, but why are you leaving a job and not finding another, right?
Exactly.
And you're like, I just want to be happy.
I want to find my happiness, right?
Yeah,
I was like, I'm not doing this. I want to find this. So I ended up looking for jobs, and then I saw the Eaton Center was hiring. the Eaton Center. So I was like,
Cadillac
okay,
Fairview.
Cadillac Fairview,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Eaton Center was looking for security, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I think I would, let me go look. Because there was a couple other security companies that said they would hire, but I
Yeah.
said something specific, right?
Yeah.
So I got my resume together, and my nice suit, whatever, walked in, and I'm like, okay, I'm still gunning towards that goal, but let's start here. Let's see what kind of experience I can get here. Walked into the office, prim proper in a suit, went in, and I met the head of security at the time, Jim McDermott.
Yes.
Jim McDermott,
Yes.
right? And he's God bless him, he's passed on. So a great man,
Yeah.
great man. So I remember walking in and I gave him a resume. He looked at it, and there were certain things I had put in there. I learned, right? And he pointed out. He goes, "Oh, you have this in your resume." He goes, "I really like that. I like that you have that."
What did you have in there?
So I put in there that able to keep proper notations in a memo book.
Oh, hey.
And he liked that because, in security, and you guys know in security or even any kind of security or police, that little book you're making notes are like, oh, I'm writing the books, right?
Right.
You know everything, right? Because there's only certain things you remember from memory, right? So you have to write things down as you go through incidents, you get involved in occurrences or whatever. So they have security do that. So he saw that in there. And I think he saw that as a very important thing, that if someone can pick that out and to say that, they're going to go into the security field and they're going to write that down, is like, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that, right? So he saw that, and then he goes, "Oh, I really like that. You have to make proper notations in my book." So he looked at me and smiled. He goes, "You know what?" He goes, and you get called back for a second. He just looked at me. He goes, "I'm going to give you the job."
Wow.
Yeah.
He goes, "I'm going to give you the job because I really like you where you're putting yourself
Right
together."
there. Amazing.
He goes, "I'm going to give you the job."
You liked your suit.
Probably.
Yeah.
It wasn't no Boss or Armani or anything, right? But
But it wasn't Byway.
No, but it's because it's funny. You talk about suits, right? It's that impression, right?
Right.
You create that impression, right? You come in, suit looking like $1 million. People are still gonna look what you're wearing on the outside, but they know on the inside. They're not gonna judge a book by its cover, but they see on the inside. But you come in looking professional.
Yeah.
That professional is what's gonna carry.
You know what? Let's highlight right there for all the listeners.
No.
Please, if you're gonna come to an interview, look professional. Can
No.
you share something on?
Listen, man.
He's done maybe thousands of interviews by this point.
Yeah, it's to me, it just blows my mind. Look, it's gonna sound like I'm harping on millennials because I am. But to me, look, let me throw this out. How old were you when you got onto the police force?
I was 26.
26.
Yeah.
Okay, and I know guys like Andy.
Yeah.
Who was 19 when he got onto the OPP.
Yeah.
And at that time, I'm pointing this for a reason right now. The age of when people are getting on the police force right now doesn't seem to be kind of going towards the younger 20s anymore. It seems to be going much more mature people, like you said, the life experience. And the one thing that you would think that would be maybe the most important piece of someone's mindset or schooling or is preparing for an interview and what to do, okay? It just blows my mind. I mean, people in this day and age right now don't care. You got anything available on Thursday at 3 p.m.? I can't make that. Or they don't show up. Or if they do come in, earrings in. And okay, look, maybe I'm going too old school right now. But at the end of the day, when you're applying and it's your first impression to see someone and they're not dressed the part and they don't look the part and they don't speak the part. And on top of that, they're not focused or they're distracted or they're nervous. All these things set the tone, right? And to me, I think people really need to pay attention to that. When they say look in the mirror and kind of conduct an interview to yourself,
Yeah.
truly do that.
Yeah.
Truly do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it just blows my mind. It just and then when they don't get it,
Maybe some guys don't have mirrors though. But,
yeah, maybe.
Maybe they don't.
Maybe.
They just
Maybe.
got like a really clouded, dirty window, city apartment window that they try.
Yeah, exactly.
And they don't.
Exactly.
That's what they rely on, right?
What's the funniest thing someone's ever shown up to in an interview?
I've had guys show up in
funny,
the
it's
interview
just-
with tags on their suit still. Like they just like literally hanging off their suit. Yeah. And it's like, I can't even conduct the interview at that point because I'm like,
You can
oh my
see the
God.
tag.
The tags are off. Like you can see the suit. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just like stuff like that where there's just no care. You know what I mean?
No, they have a plan.
Yeah.
They're coming for the interview and they're going right back and they're returning it.
Yeah.
That's
I actually saw a guy like that. But I had a buddy who he got on the job when he was going to court, and he never owned a suit.
Yeah.
He bought a suit, and he he had the Hudson's Bay tag still.
Oh, really?
The sleeve, right?
Yeah.
You know, so you have to cut it off. You might want to get the tag off,
Well,
right?
see, so here's the thing. So obviously in security, I try to hold a very, very, very high standard.
Yeah.
And I always say things like, "Would you do that to the police?" So most people, I would assume, and this could be a very wrong assumption in the security industry, want to aspire to something in law enforcement. If they're not using it as a window to get there, right? So to me, when I see the work ethic displayed, you can tell usually those that are going to take it to the next level and want to pursue their dreams and careers in policing.
Yeah.
And you can see those that don't, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that comes up is, well, I don't have a suit, for example, or and I'm thinking in my mind, every person should have a suit, which is another
you've said that
story.
before.
Yeah, it was another story, but
On this podcast, I think you went on a 7.5 minute rant.
on having a suit.
Yeah,
but
everyone should have a suit.
yeah, exactly.
At least for weddings and
Yeah.
funerals.
But
But you would think, though, right?
Yeah.
You would think that everybody would have a suit, right?
But
Yeah.
in hearing your story, man, I'll tell you, like, there's little things that I'm hearing in there, and maybe you're just kind of brushing them over because they're not flags to you. But to me, what I mean by they're positive flags in the sense of you're working towards something and you're displaying your work ethic through your stories. And I find a lot of times if somebody wants to get onto that end goal of being a police officer, for example, man, everything that you're doing just by, for example, if you're showing up to a shift on time or late, or if you're distracted, if you're doing any of these things, how do you think you're going to succeed in your goal of your career goal if you can't master it on the smallest level? I did a presentation about, I don't know, a year and a half ago at a college. I'm not going to mention which one it was, but it wasn't Seneca. And anyways, yeah. But when I was there, one question was asked from the front of the room, and it was, how do we get an opportunity to work within your company to get that experience? And as she was asking that question, I just started to scan the room, and I was looking at the very back row, and there was like a row of like 5 or 6 people there, and they were just on their phones. And I actually said, I go, do you see that back row back there, all the people on their phone? I go, that's how they'll never get onto a situation like that, because they're not focused now. And if you can't be focused now, you're never going to get focused.
That's right, yeah.
And the other thing is this, I literally stopped the presentation and talking about security and law enforcement to start talking about real estate and life. I go, do you know how expensive it is to buy a home right now? Do you think a regular income can get you into a house right now? And do you know what life's about and what they can do and how the market is shifting and changing? You need to look at yourself right now and say, if I want to be stand out from the rest, what am I going to do to get there? Because I can tell you right now, if you're going to fall into this path, if you don't create your work ethic and recognize it now, I mean, we're in college now. High school is high school. I mean, in high school, I was terrible. I mean, from behavioral to marks and everything. But when I hit college and I had to pay for my own tuition, and I'm thinking to myself, if I don't do something now, I'm not shifting. And I had to switch my mind space, which you were talking about, switching your mind space into what am I going to do to get to the policing, what I have to do to get there. If you don't have that, I mean, if you're right now don't have that and you're like well beyond your schooling years, you have to shift it or nothing's going to change for you. It's not going to change. And then you can't be that guy looking at someone that's been, I want what he has, but you don't put the work into it. So hearing your story, man, I'm really hoping people understand that and hear that not just policing and anything that you do, you got to be focused and you got to have a clear plan of moving there, or else you're not going to get the goals that you want.
It's a drive.
Yeah.
It's a drive. It's a drive you have to continue with. It's a drive you have to go with. Because even for me, I mean, I had a few obstacles too. Because even after doing the security career and completing that, now it came time to apply, right? A lot of guys don't get on their first time.
No.
A lot of guys don't.
Before you go any further, how many guys do you know that didn't get on their first time and said, I give up?
There's quite a few.
Yeah. And I'm not surprised by that.
There's quite a few. In fact, one success story of somebody I do know, he tried 7 or 8 times.
Wow.
7 or 8 times, didn't get on. It amounted to almost 10 years. He kept going. On his 10th year, he got hired.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
10 years of trying.
Wow.
Because it's not an easy process.
It's not, that actually don't even, under the police, and I don't know if it's changed, but under the Police Service Standards Act, they cannot tell you why you didn't get on. right?
Yeah, and it's funny. Yeah, they can't. I mean,
For me, I remember I got that language back in the day. Sorry, we can't tell you why.
Yeah, because like if you fail the interview, like sometimes some people fail the interview. If you fail the initial parts, which is like the physical or the written part, you know you fail because they're going to tell you that, right? But when you go through the interview, they don't tell you why you did not pass the interview. Mm-hmm. So then you got to figure it out on your own. Maybe you got to go look back.
Yes.
Okay, what do I got to look at
to
know why I didn't pass?
Right.
But it's that focus. Some people just give up right there. For me, if I can tell you, for me, I didn't. The first time I applied to Peel first and passed the test and get it.
Right.
I applied to York, passed the test, didn't get it. Then I went to Toronto. The first time I applied in Toronto, I got through the written portion and got to the interview. But the interview, I said what I had to say, and I was trying to do what I can. It was my first time, and I didn't make it. 97, I didn't make it. So it was 1997. It was when I tried. And so this is when I was still working at the Youth Center, but I said, let me give it a shot and try and get hired. 97, I didn't make it. So then it was like, okay, I got to try again. So I kept going, and I kept looking. I said, okay, when am I going to apply again? But I applied a second time, and I didn't pass the written this time. So I'm like, well, what's going on? Right? Like, I got to keep going. And again, my parents bring up, right? Okay, listen, it's time to come to the bank. All right? Time to get to the bank. Yeah. But I didn't give up. I said, nope, this is what I'm going. And I lost a lot of support. People didn't believe in me. People didn't think that, my family, like, they didn't think I was going to make it.
I did.
Yeah. You had the hope side. Oh, you did, right? But I mean, when you don't
take that, Karmali family.
You don't put it through, right? The cost you come through. No, through, right? So,
but guy.
Clear.
Same guy.
It did the same thing.
Always stirring the pot. Huh?
But I didn't feel like I didn't have that support. But I'm like, okay, I want to get through it. I eventually, like, after trying 2 times, like, I got out as a court officer, like, I made it as a court officer, right? So court officer, they saw it as kind of like a stepping stone.
Yeah, for sure.
To get into the police service, right? But I got, at that time, okay, now this is time number 3. I said, okay, now it's time to try again, right? So I tried again. I went through, you know what I mean? And I got to the interview. And at that time now, they had changed the process of the interview, that they would tell you at the end of the interview if you passed or you failed.
Interesting.
But so they would tell you if you pass or you fail. So if you pass, they'll tell you you're successful on the next stage and you move on, right? So I think they had changed that time that they would immediately tell you what your results were, because before they wouldn't. You would get a letter. If you got a letter,
yes,
you're on 600. That dreaded letter, right?
Oh, the letter.
Yeah, the letter.
Was it hand delivered or
no?
Mailed?
Yeah.
And that's funny. It's that letter.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Get that letter. That's like, sorry, man, you ain't moving on, right? So, but
sorry, bud.
Yeah. It's like God.
Nice suit though.
Yeah. Keep that's the thing, right?
Exactly.
So I'm thinking, okay, let me try. You get told you pass or fail. So I went to these 2 female officers in my interview, and I thought I had a great interview and whatever, because I'm still focusing. I'm like, okay, I'm going to try and say what I can and give my interview, right? But I gave it through, give the interview. They come, we're sorry, but you're, she looks at me, but you're unsuccessful. You're not going to be going through it. So, and I kind of, and to be honest with you, kind of going through it, I kind of knew it. I'm like, I look at her and I go, yeah, I know. And she gets a shocked look at her face. She looks at me, she goes, really? And I know I wasn't successful, because I don't know what it was. Maybe it was something they didn't like me or whatever, right? But, I went home, I said, I'm not going to, okay, so what, right? We're going to keep going. We're going to keep doing this. Because now, 97, now we're talking into 2001, right? I'm trying to I got to keep on trying again. So 2001, I went to the interview again. And, but along the ways I prepped, I learned now. Right? Okay, maybe there's some things you got to prep for, right? But I went in there and I still had a mindset, and then I got told, you passed.
Yeah.
You passed, right? And now it's the next stage, right?
And what an accomplishment it is when you've been fighting that battle and you've been hurdling those obstacles, and then you finally get that word.
You really appreciate it.
100%. Like when the Raptors win tonight, they're gonna appreciate it. Look at the work we did. Look, like I'm saying, it's incredible.
Adapt and overcome. They've definitely done that. The first,
huge,
I mean, they had their struggles, man. The first 2 series, big time, for sure.
Right? But to bring it back to you, man, you're showing the journey. You know what I mean? And at any time you could have given up. You said your friend 10 years before he got on.
That's right.
See, this is the stuff people need to listen to. Okay, most people look at Jeff Bezos and be like, Jeff Bezos is the richest person in this world. However, when you hear this, which I kind of blew
Him
me
and
apart,
his wife.
Yes, that's right. That's right. What blew me out of the park when I heard this, his business did not start turning profit and being what it was until the 10th year in. So Amazon, up until the 10-year mark, was not profiting.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
So you got it. When does someone say, okay, this is too much, I give up now? You know what I mean?
Do you remember what Amazon was?
It was a book. They sold books,
They
right?
just only sold books.
They only
Do you
sold
remember
books.
Yep.
That? Yeah, people forget that. Really,
Yeah.
that it was only books.
That's right.
It's
So
funny. It's true. It's funny you say that because
Yeah.
I was right. You know,
Yeah,
everybody
but
thought
that's all you could
get
buy.
a good book.
That's right.
It's like, Amazon was just getting a book.
So
Yeah.
the perseverance to push through and keep going at your goal. You know what I mean? I'll just say it's one of those things. If you want it, you got to fight for it and keep going. You know what I mean? And that to me is what I'm hearing from your story right now. And I think a lot of people, if they hear this and they hear what they can take and the failures and the rejections, because they're real, man. Failures and rejections are very, very
Yeah.
real.
It's
and they're
very
not
real.
pretty.
It's very real.
Yeah.
We
You
don't,
know,
and we don't really. They're not at the forefront anymore. I think, when you look back the 70s, 80s, 90s, you
Yeah.
remember bad weather. You remember bad times.
Right.
There was I think we were more in tune to the ground.
Right.
Does that kind of make sense? But I think our lives are so fast right now, and with Instagram and social media, where everyone is just only posting the best things about their life,
Of
the
course.
highlights,
Yes.
the low moments. People don't sit
No.
with them at all. They don't actually talk about it.
No.
You know,
they don't.
they brush it over. You know, I had my cousin. 4 years ago, he passed. He was 23, and he drowned. And what was amazing about it is, immediate family, they allowed the grieving process to really happen. You know, it wasn't just like, the funeral and then move on. They literally, every night, everyone went to the house for, I think, a couple of months. All of his friends, he had tons of friends, they would come over and talk with his mom and with his brother and sister, and they would just talk about him. They'd talk about good things, bad things. They'd laugh, then sometimes they'd cry, what's amazing is he's still celebrated. His life is still celebrated. People on the regular, he still has left his mark, like in social media. People, when it's his birthday, it's pretty amazing that his legacy's lived on, because he was a very passionate guy.
Mm-hmm,
He was a guy who was all about dreams. He would say things like on the regular, forget your fears, and a Scarborough guy, a Malvern guy, and he just opened up a barbershop. Shout out to Throne Barbershop, Young and Gerard. He's what my cousin Christian. Throne, they cut the Raptors' hair, they cut the Blue Jays' hair. They're very, very successful barbershop. My cousin passed away 2 weeks after they opened.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Wow.
And I remember I was in LA for a bit, and when I came back, he cut my hair, and he was telling me all of his dreams. My last text to him was, I'm like, look, man, don't be a duck, be an eagle. Ducks just, they fly close to the ground, but eagles find a way that when the storm comes, they use the storm to get above the clouds, right?
Right, and they soar.
Yeah, they soar. So I remember we actually had a text. He's like, what does that mean? I actually saved the screenshots of the text, and I said, eagles are the only bird that use the storm to get high, because it's always sunny on top of the clouds, okay? Why I say that is you have to go through the storm. For me, I feel that there's something that we're losing, I guess, as a society, is we're trying to avoid the storm. Does that kind of make sense? People and I mean it literally, if it rains, we're so guilty of this in Toronto. In Toronto, we treat rain like it's acid rain.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. Like, it's just some rain, right?
Yeah.
A little, a little spit. But you see people run and scurry like there's literally gunshots going through the street, man. And to me, it's soft. And why that matters is because there's way more difficult things in life that you don't have control over. But it's part of life.
Right.
You make your adjustments, right? You adapt, you overcome. I purposely have taught my kids to not be fazed by the weather. That if there's a snowstorm, you've heard me say this before, we purposely will go out in a snowstorm. And it's desolate. There's nobody out there, and we'll be the family walking or driving through the storm. The reason why I'm a firm believer that you can't avoid it. There's certain things you can't avoid, but you need to build up a certain resiliency that I'm going to face it, and I'm going to find my way through. Does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah, it's like avoiding, like, imagine your entire life you try to avoid conflict. So can you avoid conflict for the rest of your life?
You can't.
Right? Or your parents on your behalf try to basically shield you
Shelter
from
you.
or shelter you from conflict.
Right.
Right? Setback. You strike out in the baseball game. Okay, well, we shouldn't call balls and strikes. Okay, we shouldn't have our kids strike out because it's you hear them, I went on a little rant on this a couple weeks ago. I got buddies that have their kids in soccer. Did you know that they don't have soccer tournaments anymore? At least for the non-rep, they have soccer festivals.
Your kid's in soccer, isn't he?
Yeah. My kid's in soccer. He goes to tournaments, but
He
he's
goes to
rep.
tournaments,
But he's rep.
But he's rep. So the non-rep, which is everyone else, okay, which is the large majority of kids that, I get it, it's for fun, but what are they really learning if it's just a soccer festival? What is that?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how can, when you said Don Mills and Finch, instantly I just know that that's your vibe. I know because I know guys from that neighborhood.
Yeah.
And the guys that get out of there, their feet are on the ground. They know real life because they know that if they were idiots, they'd have a lot of problems. They know that their shoes could be taken from them.
It's also when your feet are on the ground, but it's also the environment you have around you.
Yeah.
You got good, hardworking people that you see.
Yes.
That
You're
are-
right. That's in the mix of it.
Right?
Absolutely.
Like good, hardworking people you see, whether it be
That's
person.
the core.
That's
That is the core.
core.
2-3 jobs. Everyone just doing everything they can
They can.
for their family and their neighbors.
You got it. And that's a big thing. So do you feed off of that, right? Or do you take another path? But I think for the most part, a lot that come out of that neighborhood, they see that and they continue that to continue to work hard so they can go to where they need to.
Yeah,
get
there
to.
is a work ethic.
Yes.
There is definitely a work ethic. I mean, you don't learn anything if something's just given to you, right?
No, of course not.
Of
course not, no.
I have a little story that I'm proud of my kids. They wanted an iPad. Okay? At some point they said they wanted an iPad. So I was like, look, we're as a family we prided ourselves on not being all up in technology and the screen. It's about being creative, being a thinker. I let my kids just play, explore, come up with stuff. You should see what they could do with pipe cleaners. They're amazing.
I haven't heard that term in a while. Pipe cleaners,
Pipe
man.
cleaners. Shout out to pipe cleaners. The pastime of the 80s.
Oh, man.
That
Pipe
should come
cleaners.
back. Next level pipe cleaners.
I know.
You know what I mean? Colors and
Okay.
smells.
I'm surprised
and
if they do.
Someone's on it right now. This is Toronto, Trendy City. So I say that they said that they wanted an iPad. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna be a smart dad. I'm like, okay, write a letter, give me write a manifesto on why you want an iPad.
Yeah.
So my daughters at the time, they were the ages that they are right now, 9 and 12. They wrote a letter, and I should actually frame it. It's so I had no argument against it.
Yeah.
The letter was so well written about their why.
Yes.
And their why about exploring their creativity, and they love photography, and they'd love something that they could take a picture and edit and save and make memories, and no joke, it was
So the proud owner of iPads now.
Getting there.
So I was like, you know what? I'm like, your why is a good reason. This is a really good reason. We support your mom and dad, support you with this reason. So he said, okay, yeah, you can have an iPad. And I remember them like, really? And I said, yeah, you just have to buy it. Okay? So, true story, they went in their room and they sulked. They had no clue. It was the biggest high and low. I was okay with that. And I literally, at some point, I went in their room and I said, listen, you have the ability to buy it. You can buy it. There's nothing in your way for you to now obtain this. You have our blessing, but we're going to help you in other ways. We're not going to get it for you. What could you do? So they literally looked at me. They're like, Dad, this is not funny. Okay. I'm not joking. They were wondering, I'm known for my lectures. Right?
Yeah,
So they're like, Dad, it's not funny. Yeah. Okay. How are we going to buy an iPad? We're kids.
Yeah.
And the tears are coming down. So I literally said, okay, look, what do you guys like to do? And we literally talked about everything from baking to crafts to chores to how could they help out? And then the wheel started to spin. And then they got a pad. They have a journal. They wrote down things that they can do to earn income. And then the journal certainly turned into their accounting. It was their bookkeeping. And then every time they got money, they tallied every single penny. And no joke, we have a system. If they throw out the garbage, if they take the garbage and take the initiative to throw it out, they get 10 cents. Okay? If we ask them, they only get 5.
Wow.
Okay, so like literally like
And they think they have it bad in China. Yeah.
so. Long story short, in 6 months, they went in and literally, by Grandpa obviously paid them a lot. They raked the leaves.
Yeah, Grandpa's
like $20, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
We're like, yo, listen, okay, a little slow burn, like but they got the last amount of money kind of right before Christmas. Uncle gave them a good amount, and I think 3 days before Christmas, they walked into the Apple store, and they went and bought an iPad. Okay, with cash.
Yeah.
They actually had cash of everything they had, and they counted it out. Okay, we condensed all the pennies and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
and,
yeah.
Sorry, not pennies. Shout out to pennies. Hashtag extinct. So I say that just they are grateful for this iPad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I've seen families where the iPad is like literally it's a placemat for their food. Okay, because you just bought it for your kid. I'm a firm believer that there's something about hard work. And when you earn something, like think about your first car, did you love your first car
Oh yeah.
when you worked for it?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like no one will understand it,
Yeah.
right? I spent $1,500 for my first car. It broke down like monthly. It was on a monthly breakdown plan. 1992 Toyota Corolla. But man, I love that car. I don't see them anymore on the street, but if
No.
I ever see one, yeah, oh man. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's just something about working hard
Right.
to get it, right?
Yeah.
Versus just that microwave mentality that I just want that. Think about guys that come in that are they're telling you all the right things. They might wear the suit. You don't know if someone really wants it. You don't really know if they have the drive, Like, what's really cool about listening to you have drive, you had passion, you knew what you're about.
Yeah.
How does someone go 10 years of rejection and then they finally become a cop,
Right.
man? Those are the stories I love to hear. Because the guy who gets it really easy or expects it, I'm the best. I'm top of the class. All my family's cops. My dad could get me in even if I failed.
Yeah.
You don't really learn anything from that.
Well, there's, and you talk about that because of that drive. It's like, okay, do you have it in you to do that? Because there's one thing actually I wanted to touch on because it's like, do you think going forward, is there something that's going to stop where your career ends? I didn't mention this, but when I finally got hired and I was in the college and I told you my class got affected by the officer strike, right?
Yes.
And our staff sergeant told us, you know what, you guys are going to get through. You'll persevere, you'll adapt, you'll overcome, and get through. However, in that process, what it was is you do a couple weeks here, you go to Elmore, Ontario, you do 3 months, and you come back and you do 5 weeks and you graduate. If you failed a couple of exams in Elmore, Ontario, which what happens to a few, right? You fail a couple. Within that 5 weeks, you have the chance to go rewrite that exam, and everybody does pass. You have that chance, and then you can graduate your class.
Right.
With us, it was a little different because and I'll tell you why, because I was affected by this. But when we came back after the officer strike was over, we only had to do the completion of the 3 weeks at the Ontario Police College. So when we were done, we rewrote all our exams. When we came back, the next day or 2 days after, we were getting our badges and we were going on the road. So I remember we all came in, we were all waiting for our exam results, right? We're all waiting for exam results. So the staff sergeant walks in, we're all sitting there, he goes, okay, you know what? Everybody did well except for one. This one person has to rewrite their exam, but they will get through. But as one, everybody else is successful. I will be letting that one person know. So here I am standing there, right? Back of my head, I'm like, oh man, I hope this is not me, right? What's going on?
Yeah.
So then, I will be pulling that person aside, but the rest of you, the graduation ceremony will go on tomorrow, and we'll get this person caught up to speed. So we're all walking out. He comes and grabs me by the shoulder.
Hey, at least it wasn't your name called out.
No,
Faisal, come back.
come back. No, it's him. Point to him, right?
Yeah.
So he pulls me by the shoulder, and he gets singled out, right? And it's happened, right?
Yeah.
If they like it, they'd sing out. So my shoulder, and he goes, "Come on for a sec. I gotta talk to you." He goes, "I'm really sorry, but unfortunately, you were not successful in one of your exams." He goes, "Not by much." And when I found out, it was only by like 2 marks. He goes, "Not by much." He goes, "But don't worry. We're going to get you caught up to speed. You will go. You'll graduate your class." He goes, "You'll graduate your class." He goes, "You won't get your badge because you gotta rewrite the exam and come back. But once that's done, you'll get your badge. You go on the road." I just felt, like a storm cloud just hit me, right? Like I was just devastated because I'm like, I worked so hard up limp, and that one thing, I'm like, what did I do wrong? Where did I go wrong in my studying? Because I studied so hard, and where did I go wrong? I'm like, it's that one mark. So the good thing was though, when the class found out, they all came to me. And that's what kind of one of the principles I carry, and that's about teamwork and working together.
Mm-hmm.
Working together, because they all came to me. Go, don't worry, we're going to get you through. Don't worry, we're going to get you through.
That's amazing.
Don't worry about it. They all came. I was getting help from left, right, and center.
It's like a movie scene. Huh?
Yeah, man.
Right?
Like I was getting help from left, right, and center. I was getting classmates come up to me and they're like, you know what, Faizal, listen, let's go up. I got my traffic stuff, because it was my traffic exam. I remember, right? I got my traffic stuff, and they're like, here, do this, learn this, don't worry. And they kept, and so I was by myself in the classroom where they're all practicing, they're marching, and I'm alone in a classroom studying again because I got to go back and rewrite, right? Mm-hmm. So then I'm here trying to I was getting all the help. The next day, the hardest thing was the next day they were getting the badges, and they told me, they go, you can come and watch with your class, but I'm like, that might be a little difficult, right? Because they're getting their badges. Because I don't think people realize when you get that badge, that sense of accomplishment, everything you've worked for, and how hard you've worked, it's a reward of your hard work and the accomplishment you're achieving, right? So it's a symbol, right? It technically is a symbol.
Yeah.
When you get in that. So
work of sacrifice, everything.
Huge. So for me, it was like, okay, I don't want to see that, but let me study. So I studied, a couple of days, whatever. I think 2-3 days later, I had to drive back in my suit.
Hey,
right?
The suit makes a comeback.
In that suit,
That's
right?
it. My lucky suit, Pops.
And I don't know which one it was, right? Because I'm great. I was some suit, but I'm Asian with a nice suit.
Yeah.
That hour and a half drive back to Elmer, Ontario.
Shout out to Elmer, Ontario.
Yeah, shout out to Elmer.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
right. Big shout out to Elmer. Shout out to Elmer, Ontario. Get off at Elgin Side down Hacienda. I still remember the streets, right? Drive it, right? Into the college. And then I go into the office and they're like, okay, here's, we're going to put you in this room. He goes, write the exam. That's it. Leave your books outside. Okay. Wrote it. I took a look. I felt pretty. I said, okay, I think I did all right.
Okay.
I walk out. And they said, okay, thank you. We'll let your supervisors and whatever at the college, we'll let your recruitment staff know that, what your results are and you'll get it, right? So I leave, get in my car. I'm driving. I'm like, oh, man, I hope this is, I hope this works out, right? Because you're thinking in the back of your mind, you've worked this, come this far. And like, oh, man, I hope this comes through, right? Yeah. I go, could I have just used the suit, maybe? I'm going to just see the suit now. Oh, we'll get let him pass, right? But, the suit's good. We'll let him pass. I'm driving back, and then within 5 minutes, I got a phone call. So one of the sergeants calls me, one of the recruiting sergeants. He goes, listen, you're successful. You're all good. 100% on the exam. Come back. You're getting sworn in tomorrow.
Amazing. Wow. Perfect. Mr. Perfect. 100%.
100%.
Yeah.
Come back, getting sworn in tomorrow. So I didn't get the badge in my class, so I had to go by myself into headquarters, and I got sworn in by one of the commissioners in there. I got my badge, and when reported to my class was already deployed.
Right.
So after the next day, I had to go get all my equipment, and I got deployed to my division. But the best thing was that I went to my division, and worked hard and everything, got through my field training. But they did, at that time, I got to graduate with my class.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's amazing.
One in particular moment I remember was that now I'm walking with my class, everything's done. I've gotten to where I am. I'm wearing pride in that uniform. The bagpipes. When the bagpipes went off, and to this day, every time you hear bagpipes, you're walking, I had a tear strolling down my eye.
Yeah.
Couple of tears, because it's like I worked really hard.
Yeah, man.
And I'm kind of getting choked up thinking about it now, right?
Yeah,
but I worked really hard.
What it represents. Yeah.
Huge. What it represents, right?
It's amazing bagpipes. You don't hear them every day.
No, man.
It's power, though. There's something about them.
There really is. There really is.
Yeah.
It's huge. Like bagpipes, you know what I mean? When we go to memorials and stuff, you hear it, but police funerals, it affects you too, right? When they play Amazing Grace on that those bagpipes.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh, man. Like that just, you feel it inside, right?
Yeah.
But the effect of that, right? In the bagpipes.
There's no wonder with everything that you've been through. You could see that you love being a cop. you're truly grateful. It's
Right.
not just up like, yeah, I did it. I mean, I could have done other things. Could do real estate. Some
Yeah.
guys are too cool for it
Yes.
in a way. I've
Yeah.
met guys like that. So you can see where it comes from.
So and it's right? Because if you're passionate about it and you display it, you get, some people sometimes we get painted with brushes, right? And it happens,
Yes.
right? We get painted with brushes, but there's a lot of us that are good that shows that we're positive to the society and we're helping out as much as
Absolutely.
we can.
Absolutely.
Right?
I want to say a story about this. We actually wanted to try to film it. We were walking Damiels on Lawrence, crossing the intersection. Police cruiser just stops. Okay, stops right in the middle of the intersection, and like everyone doesn't know what to do. All the cars are trying to figure out what to do. He puts his sirens on, and he jumps out, and there was debris in the middle of the intersection, like planks of wood and whatever. And this officer is an older guy. Like this guy was easily late 50s, 60s. And he went out and he was just gathering everything and hauling it and sticking it in his cruiser. And everyone was watching, and like literally people were like, wow, that's amazing. Like he easily could have just driven by.
Right.
Okay. Or radioed to someone. I don't know how that would work. But he literally I was even like apologizing to the cars that he was delaying them. So we were trying to there's good and bad everywhere. We know that they're speaking of. There you go.
It's a fire.
There you go. Yeah.
Fire truck.
Fire truck.
Is it?
Yeah.
Sorry. I know. Hey, whatever.
Try to take away from your story, man.
First responders.
Yeah.
You never know. They're getting debris.
Yeah.
Go get that debris on the road, boys.
There we go.
Okay. It's a difficult job. We know it's a difficult job. I feel privileged that I've been able to work directly with some police through some really dangerous situations, and to have their know-how and their insight to help keep us safe with what we do. Man, I every time I hear a siren, this is a true story. My kids say a prayer if they hear a siren. We've taught them just because you never know why it's going for. I've seen people literally blaring their horns, acting like idiots, or trailing emergency vehicles because they're late for where they're going.
Yeah.
They have no clue that's someone's loved one in the back of that ambulance. You know what I'm saying? Like, we just got to wake up to some stuff, right? That some people have some real problems. Be grateful that you're just listening to your radio station, and you're only late for work. I want to ask you, problems. Painted with that brush. Your 31 division.
Yeah.
Legendary Jane and Finch.
Yeah.
They have a reputation, Jane and Finch. We know that. I was getting my hair cut at a barber in Vancouver. I was out on the West Coast, and barber asked me, he's like, you're from Toronto. He's like, you from Jane and Finch? The first thing he asked me right away, right? I said, you know Jane and Finch? He's like, oh, yeah, we know about Jane and Finch.
Yeah.
It's like, really? He's like, oh, yeah. He's like, any guy that, it's funny. He goes, any guy that moves out here from Toronto is from Jane and Finch, okay? Which is impossible. Okay, it's just
Yeah.
So shout out to all the West Coast Torontonians that are probably from anywhere and everywhere, repping Jane and Finch.
Jane and Finch,
Yeah, that's right. Get that street cred up. I say that. What's the difficult thing about policing Jane and Finch? Like a true talk from an officer. Just like, what is the challenge there?
I think there is. Really what it is it's being able to adapt and deal with the people and having people understand you. It's creating the relationships, right? Sometimes there's a stigma that the relationship within the police and the community, that they're like, you know what, we don't get along because we're always this is happening to us or this is happening to us, right? But I think what it is now is we're doing a lot of more interaction with the community. And, there's a lot of people that appreciate us out there. There's a lot of good hardworking people. I also worked in the Regent Park area. I was there for a lot of my career too.
Yeah.
Before I got promoted and got moved to Jane and Finch. But I think what it is there's a lot of people that see issues within the community, but then we as a police create a relation with them to build that community up and to make things stronger so that the ties within the police and the community are good, so that we can help those that need the support within the community, right?
Absolutely.
So, and that's it. Because
there's always going to be bad apples.
Yeah.
Right? There's always going to be bad apples.
There's bad apples everywhere. And, and sure, I've encountered bad apples. But you know what? If you talk to the bad apples, like we mentioned earlier about two sides to a coin, right? Mm-hmm. We don't know what the issue is with these bad apples.
It's true.
So if we can reach out and help these bad apples understand their side, because they may have a valid side to the story.
And that's a key word there, is have some understanding, or at least
100%.
approach a situation where I may not understand everything that's going on.
That's right.
You know,
That's right.
what's something amazing about a neighborhood like Jane and Finch from the inside? What's beautiful about that neighborhood?
The culture.
Yeah.
There's so much culture. You know, they're working downtown in like Regent Park area. Yeah, there was culture there, but there's so much flavorful culture there.
Yeah.
It's just amazing to see all the different cultures. And not only do you see the different cultures, but you see people, you know, with their families and whatever, because you get a lot of hardworking families, but you get these people that are living in these neighborhoods and they're doing best to provide for their families and do the best they can for their kids. It's just amazing to see. Like, you know, because I'll be sitting, you know what, I sometimes I sit in the lot at Jane and Finch Mall, you know, I'm writing my notes on coffee, and people come, hey, officer, how are you? They'll strike up a conversation with you, right? And you strike up a conversation, you get to learn about them too, you know?
Yeah.
And learn about the different cultures, because there's so many different ethnicities in that area, but it just brings so much color to the neighborhood and brings people here, but you learn so much from them, right?
Yeah,
That's
cool.
good, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. it's
Look, I'll
great.
tell you this right now. Hearing your story, man, it ties close to home for me. You know what I mean? To hear that the path that you took, and I think a lot of people, like I said, are going to hear this.
Yeah,
And
you inherently think like, am I really doing what I want to do?
For sure.
Do I really
for
enjoy
sure.
it? You know.
I've you know, been hit. It's time to get back up and push forward, man. Look, I really want to thank you for coming down here today. I mean, it's good to see you, of course.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thank you.
You know what
Thank
I
you.
mean?
Thank you.
And I think not only will you inspire those that want to, I think what's going to happen, you're going to inspire police that are currently working right now to maybe be like, man, I can just do that, because you truly are work for the people, right? And it's the community that basically that gets represented. So the fact that you're representing them, man, Toronto police should be very,
thanks,
very
man.
proud.
Yeah,
very, very proud of you,
Thank
man.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
true
Appreciate
expression
it.
of
Thank
to
you.
serve and protect, man. You applaud you for the heart. You can tell. You can't fake it. You can't. You know, you understand the value of the badge, but you know that people won't just inherently respect the badge. you got to be respectable to them. You know, you got to find a way to make relation with them.
Respect those and receive the respect back.
Yeah,
There
absolutely.
you go. There you
Absolutely.
go.
That's it.
There you go. That's the theme
There
today.
you are.
There's
Yeah,
the theme,
yeah,
man.
that's
I
it.
know. I know. If
That's
it were only that simple, sometimes it is.
Yes.
It is that. That's what it is. But you know, yeah, man. Thanks for coming out today.
Thank you very much, man.
Thank you,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah,
I think we
awesome.
could have went on for hours.
No, I know. I got so much more I want to ask you.
Yes, yes.
It's not-
Well, you know what?
100%.
I got an idea.
Yeah.
There's a TV series that I'm kind of in the works of, that I want to kind of bring out. Be great to get your insight.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and maybe if you did, maybe you want to do some acting. You never know.
Yeah. Yeah, he does. He does.
You got the charisma.
He does. He does.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I want to see the other side of the smile.
Yeah.
Let's see, you know? Yeah.
There you go, man.
Right?
There you go.
Bring that
Perfect,
out.
buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, you ever
All right.
thought about it? You ever thought about doing acting?
I don't know. I'd have to get clearance from the boss first. Wife.
There you go.
And I think she probably would promote
You're
it.
right.
Don't
Yeah,
say
right.
that.
There you go.
Yeah. But just your insight on just kind of true stories that people wouldn't be privy to, I think would be really cool to
sure.
kind of
Wicked.
share. Yeah.
Wicked.
Okay.
Well, there we have it. Faizal
Yeah.
Karmali, thank you so much, brother.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
looking forward to doing a part 2, which we can dive also into the
Pleasure.
fitness realm, please, which I really didn't get a
Yes,
chance to, but we can go into that
100%.
piece.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We didn't
Yeah.
even talk fitness.
Yeah, we started talking about the Thai boxing thing, whatever. But yeah, the fitness thing is.
Oh, man.
We'll bring it up.
I CrossFit too. He said that you CrossFit.
Yeah,
yeah, CrossFit. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll bring that up and specialize that, because we got to get healthy people in the mix. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, thanks for
All right,
coming.
man.
buddy.
Thank
Thanks so
you.
much, man.
Can we get a clear? One last clear?
Clear.
Yeah. Foot through the door.
Oh, okay. No. We're gonna do that for part 2. We're gonna do that for part 2, Mike. Never put me on the spot ever.
I've taught him, remember improv. Always
Yes.
say yes.
Yes.
Remember?
Listen to this episode on iTunes and Spotify. Make sure to drop by next week. And don't forget to subscribe.
Let's go!
It's time to give a shout out to our sponsors. This podcast is brought to you by Sentinel Security Plus. For all your premium security needs, visit SentinelSecurityPlus.com.
And The Substance Group for all your integrated marketing solutions. Visit TheSubstanceGroup.com.